जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेव टॉक्स. दिस इज आदि अचिंत. लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, मेरे साथ बहुत ही स्पेशल एक एनालिस्ट हैं. ही इज अ ग्लोबल एनालिस्ट ऑन द रीजन ऑफ अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान, ईरान, दिस होल ट्रबल्ड एरिया जो है हमारा नेबरहुड के अंदर. हिज नेम इज मिस्टर सैयद बिलाल अहमद फातिमी. He is a very very renowned analyst as far as this region is concerned. एंड इनकी एक बैक स्टोरी है. बैक स्टोरी ये है जो मैं आपको बताऊं, विच इज समथिंग दैट विल इंटरेस्ट ऑल अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल इन इंडिया. कि साहब आईएसआई की लिस्ट के अंदर हैं ये. इनको आईएसआई ने बहुत तंग करा टू अ पॉइंट that they actually gave him something which almost poisoned the gentleman sitting with us today. So he's got a lot of stories to tell us, a lot of history to tell us. Guys, ये सीरीज रहेगा एक अफगानिस्तान पाकिस्तान रीजन के ऊपर, जहां पर हम अंदर की बातें पता करेंगे जो हमारी मीडिया में, हमारे डिस्कोर्स में आज तक ना हो. सो फर्स्टली सर, नमस्कार. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर टेकिंग आउट द टाइम, एंड आपसे बात करके इट विल बी अ प्लेजर. सो वेलकम टू द शो सर.
With the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. Salam and greeting and namaskar to you, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me. And I hope we will have a productive and nice historic discussion on the region, and especially on the Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India relations, which is a very vital, important, and it's very must and necessary. That's why I accepted to come to the Indian channel, and you are the first one who took me on this matter. However, I've been on other countries' channels a lot, but the India, this is the first one, and I was looking for that one because this is the venue that we have to work on it, because there is a misunderstanding a lot on the political sides and on the diplomatic sides. And that's why the other countries take advantage of that situation. So we have to work on that and promote the relationship between these two countries and promote the peace and progress and stability in the region and the area, because that is the most needed things that our country, our region, and then the world at large needs.
Fantastic. तो द फर्स्ट थिंग मैं आपसे पूछने वाला हूँ, एंड बाय द वे गाइस, ही स्पीक्स वेरी गुड हिंदी, उर्दू, आप जो मर्जी बोलो आप उसको. बोथ द लैंग्वेज आर प्रीटी सिमिलर, बट बड़ी बड़ी अच्छी बात करते हैं. सो आई विल रिक्वेस्ट हिम टू स्पीक इन उर्दू एज मच एज पॉसिबल, सो दैट हमारी प्यारे प्यारे नेबर्स जो हैं उनको भी थोड़ा सा समझ में आना चाहिए हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं. ऑन दैट नोट, सबसे पहले आई वांट टू आस्क यू, दिस अफगानिस्तान में द when the Taliban has taken over, जो डिस्प्यूट एक सामने आया है between the Afghanistan Pakistan area is the Durand Line. The Taliban or any other civilian government will never accept it. तो do you think this is going to be the place where, अभी देखिए tensions तो काफी हैं, there's TTP, there's BLA, there's a whole lot which is happening there. Do you think this is going to be the driving force for a larger conflict, a larger war, a larger dispute? And how do you think this whole dispute is going to go into the future?
As you may know from the history, the Durand Line is the line between India and Afghanistan. It was not the line between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So historically, when the India was occupied by the Britain, and the Britain was ruling India, that we call it Britain India. That time, on the 12th of November 1893, an agreement signed between Mortimer Durand Line and also the King of Afghanistan. However, nowadays it's very clear. It seems that that agreement never signed, but they say in the history that it was signed between these two sides, and the line was a temporary line. This was now not a permanent border between two countries. But unfortunately, as you know, historically, India, one of the most ancient country in the world, because we have ancient civilizations such as Indian civilization, Chinese civilization, Egyptian civilization, Greek civilization, which is the Egyptian civilization in 7 millennium, At the same time, Chinese civilization is almost over 5 millennium, but the Indian Afghanistan civilization is 5 millennium as well, 5,000 years. And these two countries lived here, there side by side. And Afghanistan, in the most of the history, Afghans ruled India as well. Now the new child born there, the new child by the name of Pakistan, which is troubling his mothers. India is the mother, Afghanistan is the mother of this land, but this new child is troubling both sides. He's trying to show that he's become adult while he's still as a child. He's not adult. He's 76 years old, but India is more than a 5,000-year-old civilization. Afghanistan is over 5,000 years civilization. During the history, there is a lot of up and down. Sometimes Iranian ruled India, Afghanistan, sometimes Indian ruled this area, sometimes Afghan ruled India, Iran, and Central Asia. So we know the big game that is between us. But when it comes to Pakistan, this child, which was born on 14 August 1947, as a conspiracy theory of the British government, that illicit child is troubling the world, troubling the region. According to the international law, the border which was between Afghanistan and India, which is the Durand Line, it was not signed as a permanent line. When the partition took place in 1947, however, we will have a separate program on this one. I know, because it needs a lot of time. I can't explain everything in this short because today we're going to talk about different matters. But on this Durand Line, I hope one day we will have a full program so I can explain to our brothers in India what is the Durand Line, how it's happened, why it's happened. Is it according to the international law, it's a border or it's a line? Because according to international law, we have a UTI postdated juris, which means the land which was occupied by the people before, if it's divided or passed to someone else, that right will pass on. But at the same time, Convention 1968 says that UTI postdated juris is never happened until the both sides agree on it. So there was never been agreement between Afghans and because there were no Pakistanis. There was India and Afghanistan. And when this is during the partition, this has happened when the British Viceroy decided to have a plebiscite on the site. What he did, he went to the certain areas to have the right of the people if they agree. At that time, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is at that time it was Northwest Frontier Province, NWFP, which was you are very familiar with Ghaffar Khan, the Gandhi of Sarhad. His brother Khan Abdul Jabbar Khan was the chief minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is today Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. He was against that plebiscite, which says, will you vote India or Pakistan? He said, no, we are not voting India and Pakistan. You should ask us whether we're going to want our independent or shall we go back to our motherland, Afghanistan. But this right was never been given to them. What was written in the plebiscite? There was one elephant, one was, the topic was Islam. Will you go with the elephant or will you go with Islam? So most of the people, normally you say that the area was a Muslim area, so they said Islam. However, the population was 4 million and the plebiscite took place, the right of vote was about 500,000 people. From out of that 500,000 people, 200,000 people voted. So how you can say that partition was right? So according to the international law, historically, Afghans never ever in the last 130 years never accepted this line as a border between Afghanistan. We always claimed that Pashtunistan which is the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. This is undeniable land of Afghanistan, and we should proclaim this as it was done with the other countries. If you go to the Hong Kong problem was the same like Afghanistan. It was signed
Hmm.
at the same time 100 years back. But you see, Britain gone to the China and they handed over Hong Kong themselves. But they didn't do the same things with Afghanistan. They didn't hand it Afghanistan land back to the Afghans. What they did, they created another land. They took some part of India and some part of Afghanistan, and they made a country by the name of Pakistan, because nowadays they're using that country. So if we claim our land, obviously India is going to claim their own land, and once again we will come to the common border, and that is bordering
The problem with
Pakistan.
this entire.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Okay, I can't hear you for some reason.
So I can hear you properly.
No, I can't hear you. 1 second.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you at all.
I can hear you.
Your voice just went off. May I request you if you can just re-log in so that I'll edit this out. Don't worry about it. If you
Yeah.
can just re-log in because the voice is suddenly gone off.
I hope you have my voice.
No.
You don't have it.
Now I got it. Okay, fantastic. Don't worry, I'll edit this stuff out. So what you said is very interesting. But if you would tell me, see, Pakistan as an entity wanted strategic depth inside Afghanistan, right? They wanted to, with their enmity with India, they wanted to kind of create that space within Afghanistan so that they have that, maneuverability, and in case of a war, they can retreat into Afghanistan and fight with India and this and that. Now, where do you see that today? Because the Taliban seems to be playing the riot with Pakistan, and the Pakistanis are having serious trouble actually just talk even stabilizing that area, leave alone going into a strategic depth. So what is your analysis of the Taliban's policy this right now?
First, let's come to the strategic depth of Pakistan. The strategic depth of Pakistan is the fear of Pakistan, because they knew if there is a stability in Afghanistan, if there is a peace in Afghanistan, a strong government in Afghanistan, obviously Afghan is going to claim their land.
Hmm.
Our land is Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan and Gawadar. So we will have a common share with you in the Indian Ocean. This is the depth of their policy that they don't want. Since 1967, when for the first time the ISI was established by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in 1967, that was they established ISI just only because of Afghanistan. And when they established ISI, they created a cell there by the name of Afghan Cell. And that cell, they started recruiting Afghans to work against the government at that time of President King Zahir Shah, and
Mhm.
afterward, when the King President Dawood take over as a president of First Republic of Afghanistan. So they started against him to sabotage the claim for the Pashtunistan or the Afghanistan land. And as soon as the Russian invaded Afghanistan, that was a golden chance for the Pakistan. So they used the opportunity. They started recruiting the people. People migrated from Afghanistan against that government, because that government was a communist government against the ideology and the principle of Afghanistan. So the people provoked against it. And Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and America used and got the advantage of the situation utilize the political situation created in their favor to take the war against the Russia, because actually the war was between the two powers, the Warsaw and NATO. NATO was the American-led European military elite, and Warsaw was Russia and their 18 state satellites together. And that war happened in Afghanistan. And Ziaul Haq at the time, who was the president of Pakistan, for the first time when they went to the first conference of Organization of Islamic Conference, which is now Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and happily India is nowadays one of the member of this organization, because this is the organization of the Muslim states, which is the 50, it used to be 56 states, because India also have a population of 300 million Muslims. Now India is also part of this organization. In January 1981, Ziaul Haq called for a summit in Jeddah. And that conference, America, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia called for the jihad against Russia and invited the whole world, including the Arab world, to support the Afghanistan jihad against Russia. And that's why if you see those Arab who fought against the Russian, they were brought up by the American themselves. American, Pakistan, ISI in Saudi Arabia. Those 75,000 to 100,000 Arabs who used to fight against the Russia, subsequently after the defeat of the Russian, what they did, they called them terrorists. Before that, they be labeled terrorists. What was their name? Hero number one. That Osama bin Laden, he was the hero number one in the American CIA list. He was on the top of the hero of America. He was hero because he was fighting Russia. You know who was the second hero? Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, the leader of the Hizb Islami Afghanistan. Who was the hero number three? Ahmad Shah Massoud, the leader of the Northern Alliance. Suddenly, after 1992, when the Russian was defeated and Islamic Jihad was succeeding in Afghanistan and they took the power, what happened? Suddenly the policy of the American changed. The heroes become the zero, and they call them terrorists. I'm one of those mujahideen. My father was a chief commander in that war against Russia for 14 years. So we were the pioneer of that jihad. And we are still proud of it. Even the last 20 years, they called us terrorists. We say, no, you're mistaken. We are the old friend. We are that friend that you were on our side and we fought the Russia. But when Russia defeated, Russia and America sat together and they talked about, now our fight is finished and our new enemy is Islam. Let's turn on Islam. And that's why what they did, they didn't give the chance to the Muslim parties to establish an Islamic government in Afghanistan. Particularly, there was two groups. One was American group led by the United Nations, Ben and Sewan, and the Northern Alliance of Ahmad Shah Massoud. On the other side was ISI and the Islamic party by the name of Hizb Islami of Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. ISI wanted Gulbuddin Hekmatyar take over, and American wanted to the Northern Alliance take over. The objectives was that when either take the power, the other will fight, and the civil war will start. So the Islamic government will never establish on the basis of the jihad. What was the fear? The fear was, if any Islamic state is established in there, what's going to happen? They say to Russia, they're going to come after you in the Central Asia. So let's defeat them in Afghanistan. If they get chance that 100,000 Arabs we brought from the Arab world to the fight against you, they're going to come back to the Arab world and they're going to fight against America. So let's finish them in Afghanistan. So what they did, they pronounced that they are terrorists. This is Al-Qaeda. They named them. And the last 30 years, you see there is a so-called war against terrorism. The main point that I'm talking to the Indians, and your question was about the debt policy. That is the debt policy of Pakistan As long there is a war in Afghanistan, that long we will not be able to claim our land, Pashtunistan and Baluchistan and Gawadar. That's why, if you see, when the American war in Afghanistan, Pakistan supported the Taliban movement. But as soon as the Taliban came to power, and now they show their eyes to the Pakistanis says, oh no, they are not our friends, and they're going to claim their land. So what they call, they say they are terrorists. TTP is in Afghanistan. Daesh is in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda is in Afghanistan. And they, once again, they're inviting the Americans, come back and let's finish this government. Why? Because they see there is a stability is going to come. That is the point I'm saying to the Indians. You should not follow what the other says. You should see what is in the benefit of Afghanistan and the region. The Taliban, they are not terrorists. Taliban are not terrorists. They are the children of this land. They fought against the occupation of America. We defeated America. And because this is now in their benefit, they call him. And I will give you one example from the Indian history. You might know about the Bhagat Singh. How do you call Bhagat Singh? He was a terrorist or he was a freedom fighter?
The freedom fighter, there's no question.
This is similar to Afghans. We are the if you go to the history, whoever fought against the Britain, what they called them at that time? Rebels. In 1931, when they hung Bhagat Singh at the age of 23, he was a freedom fighter, but at that time they called him rebel. When the Russian invaded Afghanistan, what they called the Mujahideen? Ashrar, the people who spread terror. When the American took over, occupied Afghanistan, what they called the freedom fighter? Terrorists. So if you see the history, rebels, Ashrar, and terrorists, these are the labels, but they're not the facts. If you say Bhagat Singh was a freedom fighter, what is the difference between Bhagat Singh and the Mujahideen who fought against Russia? What is the difference between the Mujahideen who fought against the American? If you see, most of the Taliban leaders, they are the commanders who used to fight against Russia. Most of them. When they were fighting the Russian, they were freedom fighters for the Western countries. As soon as they turned their face on the American, they become the terrorists. When they took the power, so because America was defeated in Afghanistan, so they had no face to show to their own people. What they did, they called us terrorists, because to satisfy the lust and trust of their own people. For their own people, they called us. But history will prove. That's what I'm saying to the Indian. Please come to stand on the side of Afghanistan. There is a lot of mistake in Taliban. They have a lot of wrong policies. I disagree with their politics. But one thing that we agree as Afghan with them, they are Afghans, they fought against the occupation and they freed Afghanistan. Now they are against the Pakistan, they want their own land. That's why Pakistan now says, no, they are not the people to rule Afghanistan. They're talking to American, they're talking to the opposition, they invited opposition. And that's why the last 50 years, if you see, Pakistan never give a chance to India to have a step in Afghanistan. And unfortunately, this is a fact as well, that India and these two historical points, they stood on the wrong side of the Afghan nation. When the Russian invaded Afghanistan and 123 countries and the United Nations favored the Afghan people jihad against Russia, India stood with Russia. So this historically that Afghan people we have in mind, that India was not on our side. When the American came in and the Afghans started war against the American, India once again stood on the American side. And that was in the benefit of Pakistan. Pakistan took the advantage and they were happy what was India doing. However, it was not right for India. Historically, we see India is our friend, because if you see the Afghan people, however, India has done these two political mistakes, according to us. Maybe it's not mistake according to them, because that was their policy. But according to the Afghans, we say that was a mistake. India should have been stood with the nation of Afghanistan and their freedom fighting against the occupation. We fought against the Britain in 1839, 1879, 1919. We had a 3 war against Britain, and we won these 3 wars. We had a war against Russia, 1978 till 1992. And we won that war, we finished. We had a war against America, 2001 and 2021. 20 years, the longest war in American history. 19 years, 5 months, and 10 or 15 days. So it's the longest war America ever had, and it was with Afghans. And one thing I tell you, Aadi, brother, whoever touch Afghan in history, they destroyed. They destroyed themselves. See to the Britain. The soon their sun was fall in Afghanistan, the son of their emperor was started to lose, and the countries got freedom. The soon the Russia defeated in Afghanistan, 18 countries around the satellites of Russia got freedom from Russia. This is going to happen in America as well. Just remember this words. The Afghans sting, the poison of Afghans, when it's spread in a body, it never recur. Afghan, maybe we are in trouble. We are in trouble. We are now getting back on our feet. Inshallah, by the grace of God, I can promise you, we're going to take our land from Pakistan. Afghanistan is going to be a great Afghanistan, big Afghanistan. And we want this Afghanistan to be friend with India. And India should not leave the area and the ground for Pakistan, what they are doing at the moment. They should take the right side. They should give their hand to the present Afghan government, regardless their mistakes. I know the woman education is by the Islamic law. This is the right of Afghan women. It should have been given from the first day, and we are fighting for that. We are struggling for that. We will gonna get that one. We need a constitution for Afghanistan. We need a broad-based in Afghanistan, but that broad-based government shouldn't be implemented by the outsiders, because Afghans never accepted or like outsiders. We like to have our own broad-based government based on our own interests, based by the willing and wishes of Afghan people, not outsiders. So there is a difference, because there is no broad-based government in the whole world, including America, including India. Even by the democratic way, when you get elected, if you see, India is around 1.4 billion population. How many people vote to bring a government? If you see, it's a proportion of a nation. It's not the entire nation. So we cannot call a government as a broad-based government. Still, when 2 parties are fighting, 1 party is win. This is still a minority government. However, it's an elected government. But so that's why we are saying there is no broad-based government in the world. Iran is coming telling us you should have a broad-based government. Why you don't have a broad-based government? Why there is no broad-based government in Iran? Why there is no Sunni in your government? Why there is Sunnis not? 26 million Sunnis in Iran. They have no. Is there a broad-based government in Russia? Is there a broad-based government in China? No country has a broad-based government. They shouldn't ask Afghan for broad-based government on this area. It's wrong. Politically, it's wrong. By the international law, it's wrong. But by the Afghan people, it's right. We people, we say no. The government has to be broad-based. Not the only Taliban shouldn't rule, but Taliban should invite all Afghan politicians, technocrats, bureaucrats, and political influencers has to come to the government. So that's why we have our own demands for the government. We know there is a lot of problem in the government, but we ask the Indians, the Indian government, they should not let their enemy, which is our common enemy, is Pakistan, to have a chance to play with Afghanistan. If India is there, Pakistan will hesitate to do something. You know that. When the India is there, Pakistan will not have a free hand in Afghanistan. And so that's why when the Indians are not there, Pakistanis are happy because they play what they want to do. In that case, we say, regardless of the certain problems, it's good for the India to have a certain policy toward the government of Afghanistan, have a political relationship with them, alongside for working for the bringing a good changes in Afghanistan. The changes we in the international community wants. We are in favor of the changes. What the international community wants, most of them is what the Afghan nation wants. For example, if we go to the report of the Mr. Oglo, the United Nations Special Representative for Afghanistan, who presented a report on 17 November 2023 to United Nations Security Council. All he talks about constitution, women rights, right for the education of women, war against the narcotics, war against the terrorism. And that's Afghan people wants this as well. But not in a way to impose it, not in a way to interfere it, but in a way to support it. In a way to support it. You should take the hand of Taliban and they will change. They're not terrorists. They are freedom fighters. Look, since they have came to the power, they're trying to be friend to everyone. Even the whole, most of the countries, especially Pakistan, this is Taliban are terrorists, there is Daesh, there is Al-Qaeda, there is TTP. But if you see, when the Moscow incident happened, the 4 people they arrested, who were they? They were Tajik. They were not Afghan. The Shah Cheragh incident happened in Iran. The people who were involved in there, two persons, who were they? Tajikistanis. They were not Afghans. The incident which is taken in Kandahar last month, who was the guy? Asad Beg. Tajik. He was not Afghan. The incidents is all Arab. So it shows that the Afghans are not involved. Even if you see the international level, when they claim that the Twin Tower was blown up by the Al-Qaeda, even in that one, 19 people, they were from Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Palestine. None of them was Afghan. None of them was Afghan. So Afghan are not part of the terrorists, because we are not in favor of such things, because we've been the victims of the international politics for the last 44 years. We paid a huge price for that. In the first war against Russia, we lost 1.5 million Afghans in this fight. 500,000 people become disabled. 7.5 million people got refugees from the country. In the second war against America, we lost 1 million people. Once again, 2.5 million people refugees. And once again, 500,000 people are disabled and injured. So we have paid a huge price for this. The first war was in the benefit of America, because when Russia was defeated, America became the lord of the world. Instead of rewarding us with the good things, what America did, they came and they punched us. Instead of that, saying thank you to the Afghan people, they sacrificed, and America became the unipolar power of the world. What they did, they came and called us terrorists. So this is not the way. When you do to anyone, if you help someone and he come punch you and your children, what are you going to do with? You're obviously going to fight against them. Obviously, you're going to fight, because you have to defend. Even animals, if another animal attack his children, he's going to defend his children. Even birds. If a snake goes to the nest of a bird, what the bird does? Trying to defend as children. That's what the Afghan has done. We never tried to harm anyone. We are trying to safeguard ourselves. We're trying to have our own government to stand on our feet. That's what the Pakistan doesn't want. They always want us to be on our knee and bow, and what they want to do. We want to stand on our feet. The Taliban is trying their best to work with the world, in spite of their mistakes, in spite of their shortcomings in the foreign policies. But still, our demand from the world is come together, give hand to the present government of Afghanistan, strengthen them against the others. Taliban are saying there is no terrorists in Afghanistan. If you are claiming they are terrorists, come with me and show me where is. Let's come together and fight against them. I will give you one further example. There is, at the moment, they are saying there is 23 terrorist group in Afghanistan. If you see that 23 terrorist groups, and you might know Mr. Aadi because you cover Pakistan politics as well. You know, you're familiar with the name of Lashkari Jangawi, Lashkar al-Ansar, Lashkari Jangawi. Who are these groups? These are the groups which ISI created in Kashmir against India the last 40 years. Do you agree with this or not?
Yep.
If I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm wrong, historically correct me. But these are the historic facts. These groups, not only these, there are tens of other groups made by the ISI against the India and Kashmir. Nowadays, they're claiming these groups are in Afghanistan. The Afghanistan present government came to power in the last 2 years and 8 months. And these groups were there for the last 40 years. Who were behind them? Pakistan. India should ask this question from Pakistan. How you can put your blame on someone else? We have a proverb in Afghanistan that someone put their snow from their roof snow on someone other's roof. So the burden of their shoulder, they throw it on us because it's very easy. There are 23 groups. There are no 23 groups. The Daesh, the biggest group, is trained, financed by Pakistan. At the moment, I can tell you, yesterday I was talking with someone in Pakistan. They have made 4 camps in Pakistan, and Sindh and Balochistan and Peshawar in Islamabad. They take Afghan refugees by force, take them to the camps, force them to agree with the Pakistan to go work for them inside Afghanistan. Sorry. They differentiate between Northern Alliance and they ask the Northern Alliance people, your family will be safe in Pakistan. We will give them money. We will give them passport, visa, everything. You have to go to Afghanistan and start struggle against the Taliban. What they want one more disturbance and clashes in Afghanistan. So as soon as Afghanistan becomes destabilized, they will have the chance that the matter of the claim of the Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan will go down once again. This is the right time for India to play a positive role, to play a positive politics and take the chance, because politics is the game of right game on the right time. And this is the right time that India should come. Afghans, Taliban needs that help. If they do not recognize Afghanistan, okay, don't recognize it. At least give them a hand on the level of China. The level of China has, that level Afghanistan needs. Give them the hand and come to that point. And you will see Afghan is going to welcome you. However, I told you that the mistakes of Indians and that the last 40 years games of Pakistan. But instead, if you go to the Afghans, they hate Pakistanis. And they still say, India, we hope India will come and support us. Because we know, sorry, the future is belong to the region. And in this region, Russia, China, and Pakistan, Russia, China, and India, these 3 countries, they are the major economic and military powers. India is the 4th, maybe not this year, maybe next year, is going to be the 4th largest economy in the world and the region as well. China is already the second largest economy in the world. Russia is the military power. So if these countries come together and give hands, and Afghanistan is a crossroad for everyone. India needs that crossroad. Russia needs that crossroad. China needs that crossroad. And we need the support financially from the world and from the region as well. So regional cooperation is very mass and important for us. We have to come together. We have to recognize who is the spoiler in this area, who is playing the game in area. Pakistan is not playing the game in it. There is other outsider who gave them the thoughts and the teachings, what they have to do, what they are doing. That's the game that for their survival. But that war of survival, I hope one day is gonna be to the last, because we have a proverb. Maybe you know that about the aspers. Aspers is jumping. It's jump once and twice. Finally, they catch it. They say, Asper, you jump once, twice, not forever. I can catch you. Pakistan jumped for 26 years. I think that's the end for them. They can't jump anymore. And the world knows. America himself know that the nuclear power is a danger for the world and the regional community as well. And also the policy of America has changed recently. Pakistan is no longer the front line of American policy. Now it's changed. India is going to be the front line of American foreign policy in the region. So if India is going to be the big player in the region, we are part of that region. We want to shake hand with India, and India has to come to help the Afghan people change their policies, and we come together. We can defeat the enemy. We are afraid of it. However, we are not afraid of it because he's not the big ones. But still, it's giving us hard time, to us and to India and to others as well. They're not only playing here. Even Iran is not happy with them. They are playing in Iran as well. You see, the 2 months ago when there was rocket fires between the Iran and Pakistan. Why? Iran claims. Even last week when Ibrahim Raisi was in Pakistan, what was his second major points in Pakistan? First was the pipeline of between Pakistan and Iran. The second was that the Jaish al-Adl bases in Pakistan. You have to remove them. So Pakistan has groups for everyone. They have a group for us. They have a group for you. They have a group for Iran. Now we have to come together. We have to talk between ourselves. We have to talk with the world as well and explain the situation. And that enormity which at the moment is going on with the Afghans, we think it has to, we have to put a full stop for it. However, I told you, however, Taliban are not 100% the perfect people. But we can.
It's not that, the resistance in India, and you've mentioned a lot about it, and I'd like to counter you there. The resistance in India has been because there are a lot of influx of Afghan people that has come in. Our army has been dealing with that in Kashmir quite a bit. The resistance in India is because of the hardline Islamism, which is quite prevalent in that region, and that is a resistance for us. We've had our aircraft, which was hijacked and taken to Kandahar. So we haven't, there is an institutional memory, but in spite of all that, India has actually stepped in. As a matter of fact, India is the only country that is giving any sort of aid to Afghanistan, which is clear and clean.
Shall I answer you?
Even after the Taliban took over. So our policy has been always towards the Afghan people.
Okay, shall I answer you? First, regarding to your aircraft, which was taken to Kandahar, I think it was 1999 or 2000. I think
1999. New Year's Day, 1999.
1999. I remember I had an interview about that one at that day in BBC. I went myself direct to the BBC radio and I had a program on it. And my program was broadcasted on that aeroplane. The main point is, who hijacked that aeroplane? Is any Afghan were there?
That's true.
Look, I'm going to tell you, because it was hijacked it because of the Masood Azhar. Masood Azhar, who is the Masood Azhar? He's right now in Pakistan. Who did this one? Pakistan ISI did it. Why they didn't take the aeroplane to their own land? Because they knew it's going to be clash between India and Pakistan. They took it to Kandahar. But if you see what was the game they played at that time, even the Indian says they praised that one. That at that time, Ahmad Wakil Mutawakkil was the foreign minister, and the Indian says that his attitude, his cooperation was highly appreciated, because they were not involved and they didn't want to be blamed for that one, because it was done by the ISI, and they put their game all blame on Afghan into, because they knew the world is in a fighting with the Taliban. They blame for the terrorism. Let's put another one as well. And
That's the
about the,
reason why India re-engaged with Afghanistan, and we actually did a lot post going forward after that. I mean, the parliament, the dams, the other projects which are there. So that's one of
and
the reasons
also
why you saw.
about the Kashmir, I will tell you something about the Kashmir. There is three steps we have in history. One, it was 1947 when was India-Pakistan separation, and there was war between the India and Pakistan at the time for Azad Kashmir in Jammu Kashmir and these areas. At that time, some Pathans, Pashtuns from the tribal areas, they went for the to get the freedom for the Kashmir. That is one historical, about we can say 76, 80 years back. The second stage is during the war with the Russia, when the ISI was very deeply involved in Afghanistan. So they used some Afghan mujahideen and in Kashmir. They used, I agree with you, they used from the mujahideen of Hizb Islami and some of the that is the second historical point when the Afghan were used. But Afghan themselves didn't went there, did not go there by themselves. The Afghan did not go by themselves there. It was used by the ISI, because we used to live there. We had no other. We couldn't go to Afghanistan. It was occupied by Russians. So Pakistani took advantage. And third stage is now. If now there is any Afghan, I can tell you, I assure you, they are not sent by the Taliban. They are not sent by the Afghan groups, because we are in trouble inside Afghanistan. When you are in a pain, when you are under the surgery, how you can go to fight with someone and trouble someone else? We are in trouble in Afghanistan. How we can trouble someone else? But this is the Pakistanis. What they do, they take Afghans, they make a ID card for them, they make a passport for them, they use it against India. If they succeeded to kill any Indian, Pakistani take credits for it. If any of them is captured and India says, look, this is Afghan, what Pakistan says, this is not a Pakistani, this is Afghan, and this is a terrorist from the Taliban. So they use double sword. If the guy is in their favor and he's not arrested, so they take the advantage. If he's arrested by the Indians, they say he's not Pakistani. We are not involved. This is Afghans. While Afghans are not behind that. We clearly say to the world, we are not behind any terrorist attack around the world. We don't want to do anything, certainly. Our war inside Afghanistan was for our freedom. We got our freedom from Russia. We got our freedom from America. We are not going to no longer, just only because in the land in Pakistan, that is our land. Historically, we'll say United Nations should step in, and they should review the agreement of 1893, the Durand Line, and they will see that the agreement was not signed by the king. So that is a false proclaim by Pakistanis. And that line was given by the Britain at the time. It was wrong. That was our line. Even the agreement shows. The Gandham agreements, if you see, it was 1889. And that agreement shows that is our land. So we want our land historically by the international third mediation. So we have, so far there we do no fighting. Yes, if TTP is fighting in Pakistan, That is the TTP inside Pakistan. That is not TTP from Afghanistan. Taliban came to the power last 3 years, while the TTP is there for the last over 15, 16 years, since 2006. So who are supporting the TTP when the Taliban were not in power? Obviously, they are the indigenous people of that land. They're fighting for that freedom and want to join their motherland, Afghanistan. So Afghans are not terrorists. We are not supporter of terrorism in the world. We are freedom fighters. We respect the freedom fighting of India against Britain in 1947. We support all freedom fighters. That's how we if we respect others, they should respect us as well. That's our demand. But if anybody is going to fight against India and India arrest any Afghan, I can tell you one more thing. If you see there was war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, do you maybe recall this one? Do you remember that? And recently there is an agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And there were Pakistani claimed that they were part of that war, and they proclaimed that they were happy to be on the side of Azerbaijan and they won the war against Armenia. However, that they sent 1,000 Afghan mujahideen to Armenia against Armenia, and it was sent by the ISI. It was sent by the ISI. They paid the money for them. They paid money because Afghans are poor. Most of them, they have no jobs, and they are very good warrior. They are very good warrior. If there is no job, even nowadays, if the Daesh easily recruit people, why? Because there is no job, and they easily, because they pay too much money. They pay $1,000 per head. So if a person cannot earn $1 a day, and suddenly you offer him $1,000 a month, and the children needs food and everything, obviously they're gonna go. And that 1,000 people, when the Pakistan ISI sent to Azerbaijan to fight against the Armenia, and that, when they succeeded to defeat the Armenian, they never said this is Afghan. They said this was Pakistan. But who were the four warriors? Afghan. Who sent them? Pakistan ISI. Right now in Ukraine, Iranians sent 2,500 Afghans. And in Syria, Al-Fatimun. Who is this Al-Fatimun? They're Afghans. Who organized them? Iran. So everybody's using Afghans for their own advantage. If they succeed, they get the credit for themselves. If they arrested, defeated, they say this is Afghan terrorist. Is the Fatimin made by the Taliban? No. Is Taliban is supporting Fatimin? No. Is that group was sent to the Azerbaijan was made by Taliban? No. Is Taliban is supporting them? No. Is the group is fighting in Kashmir is organized by Taliban? No. All these are made by the Pakistan ISI in Iran, Sepai Pasdaran. We are the victim of international politics. That's the reason. That's why we are saying, if Indian comes and sit with us and we talk, we can find a way out of it, because our enemy is a common enemy who's teasing you and me. He's using me against you and using you against me. Why they giving us hard time? They say, why you are very good with India? Why you are inviting India? If the India comes here, I will not let you. I will harm you. So humbly,
I mean, it's a dangerous sort of a arena. I think it's going to take quite a bit of discussions to kind of understand what's happening, and probably we could do that, going forward in the future, in more subjects like this show. But at the moment, sir, thank you so much for spending this time. It is a very interesting discussion that we've had. You've given a very, different perspective, and your perspective of what is happening. Let's see what the audience has to actually say, and we'll see the feedback and actually plan the next shows after that as well. So, as I was saying, thank you so much for spending the time, and I hope we can plan another show very soon. Post I put this thing out, and till then, thank you
I'm
once again.
thankful for you that you provided this opportunity, that at least I have come and put our position as Afghan to our Indian brothers. एंड मैं ये भी कहना चाहूँगा कि मैं आपका शुक्रगुजार हूँ, आपने मुझे ये मौका दिया। इंशाल्लाह फ्यूचर में हम उर्दू में भी प्रोग्राम करेंगे, और उर्दू में भी आपने, इसलिए कि इंडियन नेशन मोस्ट ऑफ देम सब उर्दू बोलते हैं, उर्दू समझते हैं, अंग्रेजी कम लोग समझते हैं। मैं अंग्रेजी इसलिए बोलता हूँ कि अपना मैसेज जो है
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Bye bye.